congratulations on the book. It's fantastic. I learned so much about the two of you, and I think it was so great. So what made you want to write this book?
Yeah, we were really motivated by wanting to share our story, but not just for the sake of sharing, about us, but really about sharing hope with the world. We're a pretty normal couple. Aside from Ginger being raised on TV, which we talk about in the book, she talks about and shares kind of the highs and lows of that. We're a pretty normal couple with normal struggles that everyday people have. And we wanted to just share the hope that we hold on to in Christ Jesus that lets us get through the highs and lows of our life and still have joy, still have peace. And really showing that our hope isn't in our circumstances, because circumstances change all the time.
Right.
And circumstances are really scary. And so,
especially even as we've seen this year,
Yeah.
I mean, this past year, 2020 was crazy and everything that took place in the world around us. And I think you see that in those times is when we see that we have to have something deeper than just ourselves. And that's where we talk about how our faith is grounded in the hope of Christ and regardless of the circumstance. So it'll be an interesting read for those who get the book, and we're excited that it's finally done.
Definitely. I love how, it comes from both of your perspectives too. You both tell your own individual stories. So did you both learn things about each other that you didn't know before?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes. Reading each other, because each section we did them separately until we kind of came together. And so we were working on our own sections, and we would talk about those. And I just remember going, whoa, babe, like that was part of your childhood, or, you went through that. And especially when we got to the discussions about some of our struggles, like Ginger opens up about insecurities, and I can let her talk about that. But for me, my struggles through my teen years and going through college, we had a lot of really good conversations about that, because we weren't just opening up to others. I mean, we were opening up to ourselves, to each other, to our families. A few of our family members from my side, from your side, said, wow, we never knew that about you, reading the book.
Yeah, that was something that looking at the book, I think now, like even reading through it again and after it's totally finished, it's amazing how many things that you are more introspective and seeing, okay, what do I want to share and how real do I want to get? And even those stories that when we were talking about it, crying when I'm reading a bit of like, what's been like the finished product, and just thinking, okay, this is a chance for us to actually connect more with those who follow us, because a lot of them see just the broader scope of our lives and don't actually get into our everyday lives. And they think that everything is always perfect, that we have the easiest lives in the world. And it's not always the case. And I think it's easy to look just at the outside and to have that view, but to actually get real and say, no, like we are human beings. We have the exact same problems that you all have. But hopefully just at the end of this book, they can see that there is a deeper thing that has grounded us, and that's our faith in Jesus Christ. And to just see that throughout the story, even for ourselves, like zooming out and seeing a bigger perspective, it's been really helpful for us even as well.
That was a conversation we had multiple times, was, certain things are real for you. You've experienced it, but then you see it on paper and you go, whoa, am I really ready to share with the world this really intimate dimension of my life? And as we had those conversations, we just reminded ourselves and each other that there's a bigger reason for doing this. And it's to show that, first of all, we're not the only ones that go through this. We know others are experiencing these things. And if we do have a grounding in the hope we have in Jesus, we want to share that. And so it was surreal, though, seeing that some of those experiences, which maybe we'd only shared with each other, or maybe we just knew ourselves, or being put on paper and going, this is going to go out to the world.
It's all out there. I mean, Ginger, for you, what was the most difficult part for you to write?
I think there were different levels. Like stages of like our conversations about what we should put in and what we should keep out of the book. And I think that once you put something on paper, like you said, you can never take it back. And that's something I thought about so many times in the process of writing this book. And I think one of the biggest things is just talking about, I mean, even our relationship, like I thought about that, like what dimensions of that relationship would be helpful. So when we're talking through how we were coming together and there were some ups and downs in that time, and just how I even at one point kind of froze, you know, and I was like, do I want to do this? Do I want to move forward in a relationship? And that was something for me that was really tough. Like I don't like to think about that day. I don't like to think about that time. But realizing that, okay, that's something that could help someone, because it's something that everyone's going to have to walk through, you know, if you're entering a relationship, and just the struggles that you face. I think the inner turmoil and seeing like, will we be able to come together as two completely different human beings from different backgrounds and make this work? And that was something I think it was like, you know, our girls are going to read this one day and hear the deeper struggles within. And that was something that I think, and then also another thing is just talking about how I had wrestled with identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting.
That was something that I think in this culture around us, there is so much talk about what true beauty is, and what we're defined by, if it's by how we look, you know, how we're raised, or how popular we are, whatever those things may be. And for me, the wrestling was with my weight and my body image, even though I was very in shape and I was not, you know, I didn't need to lose weight. I felt like I needed to. As a 14-year-old girl, I was really wrestling with that. And I think that in the book, we tell the story and how I walked through that and how difficult it was. And that was one of the bigger things that I was thinking, okay, especially now. And I just feel like it's such a timely thing to talk about. And I haven't been open with a lot of people about that. Like I talked to Jeremy, he knows about that, of course, from day one, and my mom. But I think just those wrestlings that I had, I wanted others to be able to see that they're not alone, and that there are answers for that. And you don't have to be someone, you know, just like feel like you have to measure up to a certain standard of beauty, of personality, of whatever it may be, but just accepting who you were made to be and who God made you to be.
Yeah. Do you still struggle with your weight? Because I know, you know, a lot of people still that, you know, even when they were younger, it's still kind of always sometimes in the back of your mind.
Yes, I think it's something that I feel like I have really just found my identity in Christ, and like realizing, okay, I don't have to measure up. There are days where I feel like it will come up in my mind for a second, but it's not something that I struggle with on a daily basis. And anytime I feel like, I mean, everybody will like look in the mirror at some point and say, oh, like I feel terrible. Or if I've been eating super unhealthy, like I know, okay, I just got to get back on track. But I talked to Jared about those things, and like, he's been a great person. He listens well. And so it's amazing, like just being open and talking about those things when they do come up. I think that's the most important thing.
Definitely. You know, it was like you said, you know, the beginning of your relationship was very interesting, especially as a reader. You know, Jeremy said that, you know, that there was no instant spark between the two of you because, you know, you're kind of meeting at a convention, and like, you know, it was kind of hard for you guys to really talk. I mean, Ginger, did you feel that as well? That like there wasn't like that instant spark that kind of happened between the two of you?
Well, I mean, in a roundabout way, like, I mean, I knew about him, and Ben and Jessa had talked so much about Jeremy. And so there was a certain sense like, oh, like he's an amazing guy. So I really appreciated him. And like, I was excited that he was there, and I was excited to meet him, but I just kept thinking like, there's no way this guy would be interested in me. Like, there's no way. So it wasn't like I was hoping, like, I don't know. It was kind of like this back and forth. Like I appreciated him as a person, but I wasn't sitting there like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know, gushing over him or something.
Jeremy, what was it like when you opened up that email from Ginger's dad and there was a 50-page document with questions? And does that happen to all the boyfriends?
Well, I probably responded a lot like I'm responding right now. I didn't know. I mean, I was just kind of, wow, okay. It was intense, but I was actually pretty eager to fill it out and say, okay, hey, this is a good opportunity for them to get to know me. It's tough for Mr. Duggar, man. He's got all these girls, all these guys hanging around. And I think if I had all those girls, I'd probably come up with a document too.
I think too, because something else is like, because we were so in the public eye, that there were so many people who would come up for the wrong intention. With the wrong intentions of like, oh, I want to be on TV, whatever. Yeah. And to be fair, I think like that's a good thing. Like, I don't know, like to kind of sort through like real quick. I mean, is somebody serious?
Sure.
Like, are they really even going to like give them the time of day? So,
and that questionnaire, the questionnaire asks some pretty intensely personal questions. I mean, you have to like really be, you have to know who you are and go through it. And so it was kind of funny, but I filled it out and I sent it back to him. And I appreciated that. Obviously you think like, wow, okay, this is intense. But then, especially now being a father, I think I've looked back and gone, I can appreciate a lot more the way that fathers protect their daughters, because, I'm going to be protecting my little girls too. And
you're starting your own document right now. Wait, so do all the boyfriends have to go through this? Like kind of like,
I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I don't think all of them did it. I think it was just something that my dad had at that time.
Yeah. I also wasn't from their kind of world. So I was totally from the outside.
Yeah.
And so
they didn't know
I think Mr. Duggar wanted to genuinely say, okay, who is this guy? Like obviously as a friendship with Ben and Jessa, but some of the guys that come around are kind of, they've known the family for years or something like that. And they've known like Austin, they knew him for years before he was interested in Joy. So I was just kind of from the outside. And so I think it was a way for Mr. Duggar to get to know me.
Definitely. I mean, what was it like when he first told you that he didn't want you to pursue his daughter after all of that, after, getting to know each other for, a number of months, doing that questionnaire and everything. And then also getting Ginger to say, I don't know if I'm really into this right now.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to give away too much before people get the book, but what I can say is there was a couple ups and downs, and there was a moment where it did seem like the relationship was a no-go.
Yeah.
And at that point, I just remember thinking one thing is I can't give up. I don't have the faith to give up. And so I'm going to keep prodding, keep talking, keep engaging with Mr. Duggar. And so we don't want to give away too much there.
I know. It's hard to not talk about it.
I know.
There's so many good little tidbits.
Yeah, but we gotta let the readers have a little bit of suspense.
Yes, totally. I mean, what made you nervous about Jeremy at first? Because obviously, like you said, you didn't know too much about him. He wasn't kind of around, like you didn't know him before Ben and Jessica kind of introduced you. So what were some of your red flags, I guess?
Yeah, I think it was just figuring out, like, I think as you're like thinking through, okay, who am I as a person, and like, what is his personality, and him coming into this relationship, or even into like the circle, I guess, of friends, like with Ben and Jess, and them knowing Jeremy. But I appreciated him through them, like everything I had heard. But there's a time where it's like, okay, but they're not the ones who are going to get married. It's like, I am the one who would get married to him. So I think as any relationship goes through those times where you're figuring out who the person is, and you just want to know that this is what is for you. And so I think it was just those wrestlings that I was going through. That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy, you kind of like were then like kind of thrust into this world, it's almost like an instant fame type of thing. Did your relationship ever suffer because of that? And I mean, even Ginger growing up, how do you even adjust to like you said, like people walking down the street being like, oh, I know who you are. I know everything about you. It's got to be a lot to take in all at once, especially in a new relationship too.
Yeah. I was not prepared for that. Honestly, Ginger and I didn't really think we were going to participate much in the show. And so I knew that was part of her, her world for a while, but I just saw it as sort of a thing where like, if we, are dating and we end up getting married, then, that would be that. And we would kind of move on with our life. And so, things developed and there's different involvement in the show. And we talk about this in the book about just our kind of journey working through that and having to realize, okay, what are we going to do with this? Because, ministry and the ministry call that we had, we had to fit that in with the show and say, if we're going to be involved in the show, what does that participation look like? And why would we be involved in the show? Yeah. Which is really interesting because it's really the same reason we were motivated to continue with the show. This is the same motivation for writing the book, is we just want to be good stewards of opportunity that God gives us to share hope. Mm-hmm. This is a difficult world. Mm-hmm. The unknowns of tomorrow loom large and can be frightening. Whether it's, health diagnoses, whether it's the loss of loved ones. We talk about 2 loved ones that we lose suddenly in our life throughout the book, and tomorrow is uncertain. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of anxiety can go into tonight if we're not certain about tomorrow. Totally. And yet there's this anchor in our lives, this hope that has driven us to say, okay, the opportunities we're given are bigger than us, bigger than maybe, even at times what we might prefer. We want to share a message that this world desperately needs. And so, it was interesting being thrust into that, but having to work through and come to that perspective was a journey that we both kind of walked together.
Yeah. I love reading that, you said before, 'cause I'm sure so many people kind of reached out and sent all the girls marriage proposals throughout the year. Do you remember any funny ones or any weird things that fans have sent you over the years?
Oh yes. Countless things. I mean, I think there were so many people who felt like they knew us, and it's understandable. Like, they watch the show since, I was on there since I was 9 years old. Right. So they basically watched me grow up. They feel like I'm a friend. And, so they're like, of course, like, she might be interested in me, and it's like,
and a lot of guys,
but it's one-sided. Like, I've never met you. It seems like it's a little bit creepy because it's not just like, oh, let's get to know you. It's like, oh yeah, let's get married. And it's like, wait, hold on. This is not going anywhere. Sending gifts and things that they thought would be special because they know so much about me, whether it was like, coffee related or whatever it was. Very interesting.
And a lot of guys, for some reason, think that if they can take their shirt off and flex in a picture, that is going to seal the deal.
That's going to definitely do it. Definitely.
Sold. Wrap it up. We're walking down the aisle right now.
His name again. Yeah. Send him a message back immediately.
Right.
So you got a lot of shirtless photos of people.
Yeah, but a guy from prison, I'm like, okay, he's in prison. That probably not going to work.
No, Dad would not approve of that one.
I don't think I wouldn't approve it.
Right. Speaking of prison, Jeremy, you do open up about your arrest when you were younger. How was that kind of like a wake-up call for you at the time?
It was huge. I was just kind of on a path of hanging out with the wrong, or the people that kind of had the wrong idea of where they were going, and just getting kind of absorbed in that life. And it was a huge wake-up call. And I think the biggest thing was me having to come face to face with the reality that if I was going to call myself a Christian, I needed to live for Christ. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And not for me. Or if I was going to keep living for myself, I need to not call myself a Christian. Mm-hmm. And it was just a huge wake-up call. And I look back on that so grateful. Mm-hmm. People sometimes look back and try to rib you for it, and are like, oh, aren't you ashamed? It's like, well, yeah, of course I'm ashamed of the action, but I am so thankful that God did in my life what he did, because it was a wake-up call. And so, I open up about that night and go into detail about what happened. Don't give it away, Christina.
I won't, I promise. I won't, but you're here to talk about it, so it's all good.
It was a huge moment and turning point in my life, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously an underlying theme about all this book is family and how close you all are together. And, you do open up a little bit about the scandal that kind of rocked your family back in 2015. How did you all get through that together? And how did it almost bring you closer together as a family? If it did.
it was definitely walking through that season. It was one of the hardest times of our lives. And I think in those moments you realize, okay, like even the people who may say that they appreciate you or love you, it's like in those times where it's not popular to be your friend, seeing how they responded really showed us the love of Christ through them and through their friendships. And I think that was something that stood out to me. And I saw the friends who came so close and were like, hey, I'll just sit with you, or I'll bring you a meal, or I'll hang out with you if you want to, you know, like, and in those times I thought, man, like that really meant the most. And like our family was way closer because of that. And in spite of that, I guess you'd say. And that's something that, I mean, I will never forget how I felt in that moment. And I think even everything that happens in our lives, because we're in the public eye, it makes it more challenging, because then it's not just you're dealing with these things inwardly, but you have to give an answer to those, or you feel like you have to give an answer, I guess, to the world, which makes it a much tougher thing to walk through.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, because everybody is judging and has an opinion on everything that you do.
Right.
Yeah, no matter what. And I know that another thing that you open up that was very challenging and hard in your life was your miscarriage. And, you know, reading that was heartbreaking. I mean, I can't even imagine, you know, kind of going through something like that. Why did you want to kind of go into such detail about that in this book?
I think, as I've said throughout the book, I was just thinking about how many situations I've gone through that other people have as well. Things that are just not talked about all the time. So in thinking about the miscarriage, I did not share that publicly when it first happened, because it was something that we were just walking through, and we thought, this is something that we want to walk through privately and not share with the world right now, you know. And it was helpful for me to be able to know, like, I don't have to share this right now, because I was just, as we were walking through that, it just seemed more natural for the two of us to go through that. And so then afterwards, though, once we not moved past it, but like really, I don't know, gave it some time, then I thought, okay, like I started sharing with a few close friends, and just hearing how many people had walked through that, it was definitely something at that point that I thought, okay, I should share this publicly. And writing about it in the book, I think it's something that even our girls will be able to see one day. And God forbid that they have to ever walk through that. But just thinking about that little one that would have been in our family, and then be able to read about it later, I think was something that made us want to put it in there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can imagine that's probably like the hardest part about being on reality TV, is deciding how much you want to share, what you want to share. And obviously traumas happen in everybody's lives. And sometimes you just don't want to put that on camera, which is totally understandable.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think even people, you can think too much about it and think, okay, are people going to think I'm doing this for other reasons, other alternative, you know, like ulterior motives? And there's nothing like that. But that's always something that comes to mind, because it's like, I'm not trying to put out all of the hardships I've walked through to have like a woe is me attitude. But through this, I think it's something that we've seen, like, okay, God has carried us through, and looking at the bigger picture, a lot of people wrestle with these things and try to face it by themselves, and they don't have that deeper hope. They don't have anything or anywhere to turn. And so that's been the reasoning behind it, is because I can truly say that as hard as those things were in the moment, God gave me joy, and there was peace in my soul. And I knew that no matter what happens, that we were going to get through that, because that the Lord was with us.
Definitely. Well, I know you got a whole lot of joy and probably a whole lot of chaos going on at your house right now, because now you are a family of 4. I mean, what's been the biggest adjustment? How's Felicity doing as a big sister? Is she loving every minute of it?
Yeah,
yes.
She loves it.
Good.
Loves it a little too much. Where
really?
We have to watch her.
She would smother little Evie.
Yeah. She smothers her and kisses and hugs every day. So we're like, okay, just, you know, maybe give Evie just a little space. But Evie is the most calm baby. So she just sits there and smiles, even if sister is like, you know,
crazy.
Bring your toys and plopping it on her. You know, she's like so happy. She
It's cute.
loves her sister.
Sometimes Felicity will get up all of her dolls and line them up, and there's Evie in the middle.
Yes.
And so you have all these dolls lined up and Evie's in the middle.
It's so
That is so cute. I love that so much. How are you raising your kids differently or the same as your parents, Ginger?
Yeah, I think that our faith in Christ, like that is the most important thing. So we're seeking to just be faithful parents and really just exemplify even that faith that our parents had, strong faith in Christ, and just praying with our kids and seeking to be patient with them as much as possible. It's hard in these days when they're so small, but those things that we saw in our parents that we love, we're seeking to raise our kids like that. But then of course there are always differences that you have as any family does. And I think we're just praying through those things and seeing where God would have us to go with our kids.
I know you just had the baby, but any plans for baby number 3, and how many do you guys want?
Maybe not right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'd love another kid. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're just enjoying
Just enjoy the kids we have right now.
Isn't it crazy that I just had a baby a few months ago.
Yes.
Give me a chance to breathe.
Yes. We're really enjoying the girls.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, what's been the biggest adjustment going from 1 to 2?
I think getting out the door, if I go anywhere, it takes way longer for us to get out the door.
And Felicity's at the stage where when she wakes up, she's ready to go.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
she's not really napping now, and so that's been something that we've been adjusting to.
She would nap, but we kind of keep her from it so that she doesn't go to bed too late.
She goes to bed at midnight otherwise.
So it becomes this little dance every day of which child is napping, who's tired, waking up, time to feed and time to eat and all that. So
I love it.
It's just a little more busy.
Definitely. Which cousins are they closest to?
Oh my word. Felicity is obsessed with Ivy. So she just asks me all the time. She can see videos of her. So Jessa will always FaceTime and stuff. And she just adores Ivy.
But it's really whoever she hung out with last.
Yeah, it's so true.
Like she got to see Gideon and Evelyn the other day.
Yes.
And so for a week after, she'll be saying,
talking about
I want to see Gideon, Evelyn, so it's whoever she saw last. Right?
Yeah.
I love that. We recently spoke to Jill and Derek, and they said that, that you guys the whole family is working through some things. I mean, can you talk a little bit about your relationship and how you guys are?
Yeah. I love Jill and Derek. And so I talked to Jill on FaceTime, and we've connected and all. And so we just really love them. And
we got to see them recently at a wedding, and
it was so good.
Had some good conversations. So, and we know they're working through some things. And so, we're giving them their, time to do that, and with whatever they're working through, but we've got a great relationship.
That's great. Are you hoping that the whole family can come together again?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah, you always hope that families, are united, and family is strong, and so there's going to be difficulties in every family. I think that's part of being in the public eye is so many families go through different issues, especially as children are growing. Yeah. And this family happens to be in the public spotlight. And so they work through it, but yeah, we're definitely hoping, things are sorted out well, and we love them very much, and I know they love the family. So